17 visits to the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, sharing even more testimony about Trump's payout to Stormy Daniels. And then there's the Fulton County Special Grand Jury forewoman. She made a now infamous and somewhat revealing face when asked about a potential Trump indictment. That Georgia case likely weeks away from announcing any charges. In the meantime, the Trump special counsel sprinting ahead with subpoenas. The New York Times reports Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner are the latest to be called before a federal grand jury. Joining me now, Molly Jong-Fast, host of Fast Politics podcast and special correspondent for Vanity Fair, and Jill Wine-Banks, MSNBC contributor and former Watergate prosecutor. She is a co-host of the #Sisters-in-Law podcast. It is great to see you both. Jill, the Manhattan case feels kind of like the odd one out here. Why the focus on a campaign payment when Trump is potentially close to accountability for the big lie?
I think we need to hold the president, former president, responsible for all of his crimes. And just because there is all of the things that led up to January 6th, the big lie, and all of the things that followed it, including trying to dissemble the Department of Justice, trying to have fake electors, trying to pressure Mike Pence, all of those things are part of January 6th. Mar-a-Lago is another element, but that doesn't take away from the crimes that he may have committed before that. And it has always been strange to me that he wasn't indicted as soon as he left the presidency, because he was named in the indictment of Michael Cohen as the person number one. It was said that the crime was committed for the benefit of person number one, and that was clearly him. So I think that it's just sort of cleaning up. The statute of limitations on that is more likely to run quickly, and so maybe it's getting more attention now because of the statute of limitations. But it shouldn't in any way interfere with all the other things that are going on.
No, it's really amazing, the multiple avenues leading to accountability here. I mean, speaking of that, Molly, former Vice President Pence, still resisting the special counsel's subpoena. I want you to take a listen to what he told NBC about January 6th.
President Trump was wrong. I've said and I've written repeatedly that I thought his words that day were reckless, endangered my family and people that were at the Capitol. But I'm not convinced that taking bad advice from lawyers is a crime.
Molly, talk to me about the political calculation that he's making here.
I think that Mike Pence, like a lot of these Republican candidates in this new GOP, 2024 field, have decided that somehow they're going to be able to strip away the Trumpy base from Trump by being not anti-Trump, but not necessarily pro-Trump, that somehow that's going to work for them. And I think it's very unlikely that the people who were chanting that he should be hung are going to be his prospective voters. And I don't think it matters what he does. I don't think he can win those voters. And so he's trying to have it both ways. He doesn't have the, he's not brave enough to stand up to Trump. He doesn't want the death threats from the Trump people. But in the same sense, those people will never forgive him for not overturning the 2020 election. So I think that they're afraid to confront the base. And until they confront the base and until they take that pain, the base belongs to Trump.
Right. I agree with that analysis. I think that analysis is spot on. Jill, I want to get you in on this Ivanka and Jared news. Ivanka Trump, she was by her father's side throughout January 6th. If you are a prosecutor, what are you hoping to learn from her specifically?
You would get direct evidence that isn't filtered through anyone else, because she was with him in the Oval Office. She was with him in the tent behind where he spoke at the mall. And so far, he has not exerted any privilege in terms of her testimony or Jared's testimony. They both testified before the January 6th committee without any interference from him. So that makes them particularly likely targets for the current special counsel investigation. And I think they can do a lot to show his knowledge and his intent. And those are essential elements that are often very difficult to prove in a case. But here, where you have admissions to her probably of what he knew and why he was doing what he did, she would be an extremely good witness, as would her husband, who was also a participant in this and who knows what he was up to.
I mean, Molly, this is all about getting to the truth and the behind the scenes of what happened on January 6th. So I want to talk about another piece of that. You have Speaker McCarthy telling the New York Times he was fulfilling a promise when he gave thousands of hours of Capitol security tapes to Fox News. It's one of those, like, you know, we're always like, am I surprised? Is there anything to be surprised about it anymore? It may not be surprising, but it continues to be disturbing, both the concessions that he made in order to gain this speakership and the cozy relationship he has with propagandists.
So we saw this in January. Tucker Carlson actually said to McCarthy on air, if you want to be the speaker, this is how you're going to do it. And then he said he wanted him to start a church committee, which McCarthy happily did. He called it the Committee to Government Weaponization, or whatever it was called. He made Jim Jordan the head. I think that Tucker had wanted Thomas Massey. But yeah, I mean, look, Tucker is running this party, right? He is literally on his show giving orders to the Speaker of the House. And this Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, is doing anything he can to get this job. I think it's, look, I mean, we still don't know what he's promised to get this job, but we do know that there's a debt ceiling fight coming, and we're certainly going to see a lot of what he's promised. But yeah, I mean, the connection is it's like we don't even know, is Fox News doing the propaganda or is Fox News doing the legislations?
Molly, you got such a way with words. Molly, Jill.